What's going on, everybody? My name is Polo. Hope you guys are doing well. And today I am once again stepping out of my comfort zone, challenging the way that I've been thinking probably my entire life. Okay. And if you grew up, under a certain, what's the best way I can put that? If you grew up poor, then you were taught that Republicans were racist, conservatives were all these different these negative things that has worked and still works today on most black people in America. But everything that I've heard from Thomas Sowell has been pretty brilliant. So if that's the mind of a conservative, then maybe I've been conservative the whole time. I don't know. I usually like to think of myself as independent, more so because when you join one side or another side, then you start rooting for teams, and even if one side wants to start identifying this way and this side wants to get rid of these type of people, now you have to stick with the side that you're on, and I think that is counterproductive. Okay, but as of lately, with the things that's going on in the world, I've definitely been leaning more conservative than anything, and I don't know. It kind of bothers me sometimes because, I wished I would have challenged my thinking earlier on in my life. I know it's still better late than never, but I don't know, that picks at me at times. But anyways, today I'm checking out Thomas Sowell because I'm interested. All right, I'm interested in his philosophies and different things and interviews he's been on, and eventually I'm going to check out a couple of books as well. So wanted to bring you guys along with me. It's like 3:30 in the morning, and instead of me just watching it, figure I bring you guys along. So let's get into it. Let's go.
You were, in your early years, you were a Marxist.
Yes.
What happened? How'd you get away from that?
I took a job in the government. I went to the University of Chicago as a Marxist. After a year of studying under Milton Friedman, I was still a Marxist. But one summer of working in the government was enough to start turning around.
Really, what happened
Cleared that up real quick.
to you there?
Well, nothing happened to me, but that I realized that the government was nowhere close to being capable of doing what people on the left wanted the government to do. And that, in fact, we'd be lucky if they didn't make things worse. For example, I was in the Labor Department, and they administered the minimum wage law. To me, the question was, did minimum wage laws make poor people better off or worse off? Mm-hmm. That was not the question for them. The minimum wage law provided 1/3 of their total budget. And they weren't going to look at this other way. And as I tried to get into the question of does this cause unemployment and stuff like that, there was no enthusiasm whatsoever for that whole line of reasoning.
I remember my minimum wage days. I used to always complain about, man, I wish they would raise the minimum wage. I think it was like $5.15 or $5.25 an hour, somewhere around there, or whatnot. But I remember thinking in terms like, yeah, I wish they would raise it. Like that would make a difference. At that time, I didn't really understand, how the world works.
You've written a trilogy of books about people you call the anointed,
Yeah.
which are basically liberals in American society. What do you mean by calling them anointed or self-anointed?
That's right.
He called liberals the anointed people.
There are people who seriously believe that they are wiser and nobler than others. And the way to improve society is to have the government force people to follow what the anointed want rather than let people do what they themselves want to do.
No, that's an absolute horrible thing. You want as less government as possible. It's necessary, but the more government plays a factor into family and people's everyday lives, the worse off we are, from my opinion.
And there are all kinds of fiascos that follow in the wake of this kind of notion.
Conservatives are routinely blamed for not caring about people. And yet you say just the opposite is true, that it's liberals who care about their vision
Yes.
of how the world should be, but not about real-life human beings.
Absolutely. I think the busing thing was a classic example. You would be hard-pressed to show how black people, white people, or any other people were benefited by this. But the liberals loved it. It enabled them to be morally superior to those who were fighting against busing. And the evidence, one way or the other, really did not interest them.
Nice choice of words. Morally superior.
Aren't conservative free market ideas sometimes hard to sell? I think of the labor unions and liberals are now attacking Walmart and saying Walmart pays its employees too little. I mean, that's a nice thing to be for. You know, you want more money for people who work at Walmart. What's wrong with that?
Hey, I want more money for myself. But that doesn't mean that someone else has an obligation to pay it. If you're paying people for their work, instead of just paying them for what they think they need, then clearly these people wouldn't be working for Walmart if someone else thought their work was worth more than Walmart is paying.
You know, it's a sad truth, and it if you're not rooted in reality, it sounds like everybody should make a decent wage and we should all just live happily ever after. But unfortunately, life is a lot tougher than that. You're talking to someone who has worked over 100, maybe 150 jobs in my lifetime. I'm not proud of that, but I've been everything from a forklift driver to a steel factory worker to IT. You named it. I worked in so many different things, so I have a pretty good view of, like, I've made $15 an hour. I made over $20 an hour, you know, and I used to have. It's just crazy as you get older, you start to see things that you see things a lot different than you did when you were younger. Because I used to always complain about wages when I was younger.
So why do you think liberals have jumped on Walmart? Because of its success?
Because of its success, that's a sufficient reason. They really are for helping. They're for helping people who are disadvantaged, as they put it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think conservatives want to stop people from being disadvantaged. You know, in other words, the liberals want to help the poor while they're poor, but really the biggest benefit is to stop them from being poor, and that they have very little interest in.
What is the liberal premise?
I guess the Rousseau notion, you know, that man is born free but is everywhere in chains, that the real problem with the world is that the institutions are wrong. If the institutions were right, then there was nothing in human nature that would cause us to be unhappy. It's the fact that we have the wrong institutions.
What is the conservative premise?
That man is flawed from day one, and that there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. And whatever you do to deal with one of man's flaws, it creates another problem, but that you try to get the best trade-off you can get, and that's all you can hope for.
I like that.
I've often said there are three questions that I think would destroy most of the arguments on the left. And the first is, compared to what? The second is, at what cost? And the third is, what hard evidence do you have? Now, there are very few ideas on the left that can pass all three of those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to see people that live in America do a lot of complaining when there's people that live outside of this country that suffer every day. You know, even if you've never left the country, you could, you know, go watch a documentary. You can see it on YouTube. You can see it on the news, how some people live on a daily. So it's very hard for me to not be grateful and be grateful every day for what I have. You know, I don't have a lot, but just for the life that I do live, for people that paved the way for me to live the way that I live, I'm always extremely grateful. I just think that way. So I hate when people complain about really trivial things.
Conservative ideas, pass those?
Yes, I think so, because they don't assume that there is a solution out there. You know, Adam Smith didn't believe that either the government or the market could solve all problems, that you have to be able to simply tolerate certain things. And the idea to the left of tolerating any evil, you know, that they want to stamp out the last vestige of segregation. Really? At what price?
I noticed that a lot of narratives get pushed because the shaming is in the other direction. You know, if you don't think the way we think, then they try to shame you and demonize you because you don't agree with the way they think. Okay. And when I say they, I'm just talking about people who have a different opinion on traditional values, traditional family values, traditional way things are. All right. We like to pretend that we don't live in reality. I think that shaming has been weaponized, but in the opposite direction. I'll give you an example. This participation trophy thing. All right. My son plays soccer and they don't keep score. All right. The way I grew up was, you know, competition is what drove us, you know, to try to win. We'd play basketball, play one-on-one. And if I lost, you know, I would play you 5 or 6 times until I beat you. OK, that was the way, you know, that's healthy competition for me. That's, you know, that's a thing that I liked about myself. Okay, that's the things I liked about my heroes. They always would try to face adversity and just keep going and going and going until they're able to push through. Versus when you're telling all the kids that everybody gets a trophy, you know, they play soccer and, you know, I'm like, no, I'm keeping score. All right. I'm the parent that's keeping score. All right. And, you know, when I go talk to his teacher and she's talking more about his feelings and his emotions versus what he's actually doing in class and what's actually getting done and what he's learning, but we're spending all this time talking about his feelings and his emotions. And I'm thinking like, damn, what world am I living in today? I'm so out of touch with how things have been changing. And it's really gotten me frustrated at times, you know, just as a parent. So I'm saying all that to say this. I think things are hopefully going to get better, but, you know, with all these narratives being pushed, and I've only named a couple in this videos, and if you're paying attention, there's a lot more than just what I've named. If you see what's going on in terms of crime, and if you see what's going on in terms of so many other things that are getting ruined, from film to this cancel culture to all these different freedoms that we've always enjoyed that are slowly being taken away. You know, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, I don't know, but that's what I see so far today. You guys let me know in the comments, you know, am I wrong? What do you think? You know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If this video gets traction, I'll put out more content like this. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Peace.
Yeah! Look what I have created!